had several years ago, I was working at Wendell Phillips Academy High School in Chicago. Joyce contacted me and said, hey, want to do a piece on you about your work with Pinterest. We had a wonderful discussion, and then afterwards she's like, School Library Journal hasn't reached out to you? And I'm like, no, they haven't talked to you about maybe doing a story about your work you're doing here. I'm like, no. And she says, oh yeah, that's going to change. And guess what happened? I was on the cover of the magazine several months later, and then again for School Librarian of the Year. So I owe it all to you, Joyce, because I didn't know anyone at School Library Journal until I met Joyce Valenza. So I learned about Joyce's work when I was working on my master's degree in library information science, and you all are in for a treat today. Joyce is going to talk about an AI petting zoo. This is going to be fascinating. So I want you all to pay very close attention. And Joyce, I'm going to give you the controls and you can take it away. I don't want to take any more time from you. And I'm going to drop off as soon as I see your screen.
Okay, still trying. All right, I think I can do it now. Thank you, Casey. That was very kind of you. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
I think what I heard just this morning so far, but all through this conference, is the importance of hitting the start button. Librarians have so much freedom to hit the start button, to get things moving, to get somebody promoted and recognized, to start an organization, to start a movement. And we all have that power. Sometimes we don't see it. I want to talk to you today about another area in which you can hit the start button. And it's a very important area, and I'm going to make the case for it. Let me see if you'll see my full screen. It's still loading. Okay, I'm going to talk to you this morning about getting ready to address AI this September. This slide will come around again, and you'll have my slides, and you'll also have the petting zoo, which I'll show you later. But I have so much to share that I'm going to go pretty quickly, but understand that just like a library, you'll have all the resources available and you can go back to them. Of course, I can't advance. One thing AI does not do very well for me is create jokes. I wanted to open and break the ice with a funny joke, but these are all kind of not so funny and bad jokes about librarians, so we'll skip them. What we're not going to do today is go under the hood and really examine how AI works. I want to really instead do something else with you. I want you to allow me to be your librarian for a very fast-paced tour and to suggest that you take the petting zoo to your community later. By the way, this image was done by myheritage.com, and the time machine allowed me to put myself in all sorts of different time periods and all sorts of cool outfits. I'll talk about how and when to use art in a little bit. The petting zoo is going to be available now. Notice how cool my farm animals are, and all of these were made with Adobe Firefly. So today we're going to share some background on generative AI, discuss buckets of tools for search, research, productivity, writing, presentation, art, introduce academic honesty conversations, guidelines, and sample statements, and we won't have an opportunity to necessarily engage hands-on today in the petting zoo. I'll point you to some important documents, including this little book from UNESCO on the challenges and implications and the benefits of using ChatGPT and other generative AI. Just briefly, generative AI is a branch of artificial intelligence that uses machine learning algorithms to create new content, such as text, images, videos, sounds, code, and calculations. There are many reasons to use generative AI. Generative AI has become very important to me in my brainstorming, enlightening my load on the everyday tasks of my work at the university, of creating some design ideas for me, building my content and scaffolding it, and also pushing my work forward. I'll be mentioning Ethan Mollick at UPenn Wharton School a lot today. He's an amazing thinker about generative AI and K-12, it's actually K-20 education. He talked of a homework apocalypse in this particular post. There is light at the end of the AI tunnel for educators, but it will require experiments and adjustments. In the meantime, we need to be realistic about how many things are going to change in the near future, and start to plan now for what we will do in response to what he calls this homework apocalypse. These are just a list. I'm not going to go into them all right now, but this is a list of the concerns that people have raised, very authentic and viable concerns about AI. And I want us to think about that, but I also want to think about the benefits. This is somebody you may have met this week or last week. This is an example of one of the concerns. This is Mia Sophia, who is a Finnish model who is completely generated by AI, but she has thousands of followers, and it brings to mind all sorts of concerns. For instance, what is the dating scene online going to look like right now when we can all create AI deep fakes? We're concerned about things like the sources of our data set, garbage in, garbage out. We're concerned about fact checking, inequities, privacy and security, especially for kids, and COPPA compliance, information quality, bias, and shifts. And the Brookings Institute created this commentary, which is really powerful, on how the digital divide is evolving. The first digital divide was the rich have technology and the poor do not. The second digital divide they posit is the rich have technology and the skills to use it effectively, while the poor have technology but lack the skills to use it effectively. And this is an area in which we can be activists. We want to think about how we're going to use AI. How do you want to teach students to use it responsibly? Which AI-empowered tools should students use for which types of assessments? Which elements of process are most critical for these assessments? Notice the focus on the word process right now. This particular school year, we have to switch gears and really focus on process in addition, or maybe more than, product. What will AI tools look like in your students' most likely futures, and how might you empower students to make decisions that are right? Now, our students are going to face the workforce in which they will need to work symbiotically with AI tools. We are talking about a new literacy. AI literacy is going to be increasingly important, and it is based on and connected to a bunch of literacies that we already embrace and teach about. AI literacy is becoming pervasive, and it's linked to those other literacies. And these are just a list of the types of skills and dispositions involved in developing AI literacy in students. Nicole Hennig is one of the thought leaders I'm going to list in just a minute. But she contends that we have a strong need to educate ourselves first and then educate our users. So for those of us who specialize in instruction, user experience, and emerging technologies, this is an important literacy to stay current with. It's an important literacy for all librarians because we have the potential to use it in many areas of our work. AI, I'm having trouble getting the images out of the way. AI expertise is increasingly being listed as a job requirement. And she agrees with those who say AI will not replace you. A person who knows AI will. Crud. By the way, this is a good opportunity to mention that every single slide here and resource is hyperlinked. So don't do what I'm doing if you're using this deck and click on them. AI is all around us. This is for AI EDU, a great website that is really showing how these skills are going to be important as our students get involved in these areas of work. One thing that came out last week was the value of reading reading images using AI to detect more cancers earlier from mammograms. And medical science is being impacted in a very deep way. Now, in our classrooms, we're going to see either a big scary elephant. Notice the tusk there's an extra tusk there. This was done in DALL-E, and it is, sometimes you can tell when an image is created using AI, or when we have a really nice, well-behaved AI student using AI. So I am thinking, and I'm not the only one, thinking of AI as my teaching assistant. It is not perfect. It doesn't know my content area as well as I do, but it is an intern and I am teaching it to do better. So it's my partner in instructional design. It's a time saver. It's my partner in research, but I don't trust it yet to be independent. It's still learning. I'm still the expert and I'm still the lead learner. These are just a list of tasks that I've already used for using my teaching assistant, outlining a syllabus, drafting interactive slide decks, creating analogies for complex ideas. This list, I think, is one you might share with your teachers and see which of these things that they might choose to do. The thing is, it is no longer okay to bury your head in the sand relating to AI and imagine that it's not going to exist in your school next year. Last semester was a critical one in which we all learned an awful lot. And this semester, we need to come in prepared, not bury our head in the sands, but actually to lead. It is changing the way teachers teach. It's not just for students. We can use it to help us in our practice. And so these are the thought leaders, and I hope you begin to follow them across education, K-20, and also across library land. You may have different ones. These are just 3 books. One of them is, actually, these are the workshops or webinars that I've relied on to learn more. One is Khan Academy. I'm blanking out. This one is Microsoft, and one is Eric Cutts, who's an expert in search and technology and education. Everything in the slide deck is in chunks, so I'll be probably skipping sections in a little bit, but notice that these are organized and you can go to the chunk that you need. So you've probably already been using AI and perhaps generative AI in some tools. Microsoft's amazing tools that help us with reading fluency, reading progress, and reading coach are just too fabulous not to use. You use Google Lens when you travel to use its OTR, optical character recognition, to interpret signs in other languages. I've used Otter AI for transcription, and Grammarly and Grammarly Go are very pervasive already. So now let's look at AI and how it will help us with research. This is a tool, a Pearl Trees collection of AI tools that deal with search. And the thing is, it is not just GPT. There are so many other tools. ChatGPT was trained on Wikipedia, Common Crawl through 2021, Reddit posts, 2 internet corpuses of books. It's possibly Project Gutenberg or Haffitrust. We don't really know. And it hasn't really made public what the newer versions. One thing to recognize is that ChatGPT does not yet search the web. There are other tools that do. And I think that is a major issue. It's using only the corpus that it's already been trained on. This is a comparison of some of the bigger language learning models. And you can see that in terms of internet connection in that 4th or 5th column, you can see that the level at which they do have internet connections. In terms of the bigger language learning models, these are the ones that have been out for a little bit, and these are the ones that are coming out. Most of them are open, and so they use open access content. This is a comparison of when I asked for it to help me develop a syllabus for next semester or prepare for next semester. And you can see the differences. In fact, if you look at Bing Chat, you see the sources that are listed at the bottom that help me go directly to where the content is coming from. And I think that's important to think about with students. The thing about this is the criticisms that were out earlier may not be valid too much longer. All of these tools are getting better. Just today, I recognized that ChatGPT now can do tabular work. So I asked it to create a table specifically addressing the benefits and drawbacks of teachers using GPT in their productivity and teaching. And the first was a general one. Then I thought we have a lot of elementary educators here. So I refined my prompt and I asked it for an elementary list. This would have taken me hours and hours to do, and it's not perfect, but it got me started on this work. And I think that's really important. BARD is coming up with more features. I think one of the most powerful ones is the ability to have Google Lens within it. And doctors are actually using this to help begin diagnoses. If I have a rash, I can put a picture of my rash into Bard, and it will not only give me links, but it will actually do synthesis from among those links to help me describe that rash and figure out what it is. Bing is now kind of pervasive. I use Edge, and the Bing chat is popping up everywhere. And as I mentioned before, it offers sources. I had it help me finish up a book chapter on the future of school libraries just recently, because my ending wasn't powerful enough. So I asked it to change the tone of voice in my own writing, and it did a fabulous job. We're going to be seeing databases and other content enter this world. In the past, it didn't get beyond firewalls, but we are seeing Wolfram Alpha is a free computational search engine, and it will be in ChatGPT Plus. It's not yet. I looked for it in ChatGPT 4, and it's not there yet. But note the morphing that's going to happen. OpenAI is now going to be including AP News, which is going to be a big benefit for it and another reason to potentially use it. But these large learning models are not the only games in town. There are several new search engines that we want to introduce to students, especially at the high school level. Not introducing this to students and teachers, I think, would be problematic. So JSTOR has long used, I don't know how many people have JSTOR, it was a staple in my high school library, but it has long had an AP generative AI tool called Text Analyzer. You upload that killer paper or your own paper, and it will allow you to find other content that's very closely related. And you can see the bars on the right side of the screen allow you to focus more on some categories than others, and it will revise, and then the results will be even more powerful for you. But that's not the only game in town. Elicit is a wonderful tool to give you a literature review on a subject. So it is, and you can specify filters like year, keywords, and it will help you do a lit review. So, students are not necessarily going to use this tool to plagiarize, but they may use this tool to get started with really good sources. Perplexity is another one that is going deep into research. And will give me tools and will help me organize the information. You can see the sources at the bottom of this. And so that's just another example of what Perplexity's output looks like. And this really helps me with lit reviews. You can chat with a PDF, enter its PDF, and ask it to analyze the long document that you have, or summarize it, or change the text complexity. This is my own paper, and I asked it what questions I might ask a student who was reading this as an assessment. And so I can use this with text to create an assessment and to kind of gauge understanding from the class. U.com is also excellent, and you can see what did I ask it? The causes of the American Civil War are complex. I asked it to analyze the causes. And U.com not only synthesized some of the content, and the synthesis is not always perfect, but it gave me the sources for where the content was coming from. Consensus it goes across scientific papers and says this is what researchers are leaning towards in terms of responses. And Quillbot will help you paraphrase text. Now we're going to talk about the benefits and the dangers of this in a little bit. We have lots of article summarizers. Now let's look at some pedagogical tools to help us with our productivity. I am absolutely in love with CuraPod. So in this particular case, what I did was I asked it to give me a lesson for, I think it was 5th graders, on invasive species. I told it I really wanted to link to some learning objectives that I developed and to link directly to the next generation science standards. And I wanted it to create interactivities. It did a fabulous job, something I couldn't do without hours and hours of work, and it was creative. I hope I didn't, okay. And this is just a closer look at that. And it is so good, and it's free, and it's great for creating lessons. Additionally, Schema, it is Schemely. Schemely will create it not in a kind of slide deck kind of way, but more in a kind of a document way. I'm kind of looking at the time because I know I need to, oh my God. So I'm just going to go through these. This is Frizzle.ai. It works with Universal Design for Learning, and it does a wonderful job in creating lesson plans as well. If you are in need of a lesson writing prompt, I wanted it to create writing prompts on invasive species. And look at these, they're great. Imagine you are a biologist studying the effects of an invasive species on your local ecosystem. Describe in detail how the species has been disruptive and what possible solutions could be implemented to restore balance. These are really good questions. Copilot does all sorts of things: quiz building, content idea generation, student report prompts, project generators. These are too good not to look at. I asked it to create a unit, a 10-day unit on the Trail of Tears. This is definitely going to require some editing, but it's really a great start. And this one is like a chat GPT, but the experts are in content areas like Mrs. Green, or they are experts in a particular type of software. So if you want a Kahoot, you can have a chat with somebody, a bot that works with output in Kahoot. So these are really wonderful. This is Hello History. I had a talk with Albert Camus, and so I asked him questions about existentialism. But I wouldn't use this as is. What I would say is have a chat with a historical figure. There are over 100 here. But then I want you to do some research and critique the chat that you had. What was missing? What was not in the synthesis? So there's all sorts of things that you can do. I am going to really move forward. You can have it create a glossary or instructions for a class. This is for my search class. You can have it do cataloging. So I don't think this is as good as a Follett record or a Mackin record, but if you're stuck, take a look at how it might do that. You could have it create a Jeopardy game on Supreme Court decisions. This is a flashcard list for medical school anatomy students. And this is really interesting. I had it go into Eric Psych Info and the mesh subject headings, thesauri, and give me control vocabulary across these so I can see the interdisciplinarity of terms. And then this would really help my search if I were a high school or college student. I can't see what I wrote there. I could have it do a reference. I would not do this without serious input from myself, but it can start them. And I could ask it to give me some assessment options for a particular type of work. This is case studies. If you're doing a course that could benefit, or a social studies teacher, science teacher is doing a course that could benefit from case studies, ask it to present some case studies, but be specific about your prompt. In this case, I'm going to need to move very quickly through this. In this case, you are going to, I asked it to help me define in my assessment in what ways AI might be used effectively. So I am going to really move forward quickly, get out of this. I want to get to the very end of this. Let me see if I can do this. Okay, so I'm going to go to the very end of this. Note that there are prompts, and some of these prompts are based on educational theorists. You can use presentation tools, visual tools. These are Adobe Firefly, Canva, text to image, DALL-E. But I really want to focus a little bit on what you're going to be doing in September. And so what conversations are you going to have about academic honesty? There's wonderful stuff that's buried in here. Rethink plagiarism and the level of effort or the level of work that would be required to do a particular task. This is from Matt Miller's Ditch That Textbook. It has, for instance, this is the scale that goes, the student wrote the assignment all independently without consulting AI, and there's a gauge here, and then the student plugged the prompt into AI, copied the response, and submitted it. What is appropriate? Where on that gauge would you say it's appropriate? I think that it is not a whole school policy that we need here. I think this has to do with individual classes setting policies and setting guidelines for what is appropriate within an individual class. But I also think it's what is appropriate within an individual assessment. There is a whirlwind coming, and we need to encourage transparency and reflection in students' processes. We need to engage in more flipping, doing the reading and the work at home perhaps, and doing the writing in school, establishing policies and guidelines on the class and the assignment level, and understanding that we are going to lead in this. Librarians are going to lead in this. We need to help set these policies, but understand that unlike other policies, and maybe for all policies, these are not going to be etched in stone. We may need to revise them as the technology and the landscape continues to shift. The thing to avoid is to be the person who sets up the punitive gotchas. So Casey, what I'm just going to do right now is get out of this. On this is lists of how people have set these things for various different disciplines. And then I'm just going to take you to show you what the petting zoo looks like. And then we'll get out of that. So this is, you have links to all this stuff here, you will. And this is set up in the form of a hyperdoc. And what I've done here is created Pearl Trees collections, which have many, many resources, but I've identified the ones that I favor. And so you've got a table of contents in the side of this list. I know I have only a minute left. The workshop slides are going to be here, and the document is there. And then I have tools for these are the large learning, the large language learning models. My favorite search tools on developing prompts, these instructional tools that I shared with you. In fact, DIFIT is great for differentiation. There's so much here to get excited about. Tools for art, tools for writing, and then a presentation. But on the bottom, I should have used the table of contents. These are sample policies and guidelines that you can go into to help you set policies. Some of them are absolutely wonderful. This one has a red, yellow, and green chart for an assessment, what's accessible and what's acceptable and what's not. There is one that is crowdsourced, that is it asked so many people to, I think it's by Eaton. Anyway, I'll stop now. I think this is really something that you need to explore for yourself. Here's that table of contents. And if I know we need to close up, so I will. But I could talk, this is the one I was talking about by Eaton. Actually, it's not. All right. In any case, Casey, should I stop sharing now?
Yeah, because we're right at 11 o'clock, and someone put in the chat that you need to teach a course at Rutgers on this topic. This is really interesting. Give Joyce some love in the chat and also on social media. This was fascinating to listen to in terms of this is the direction that we're going into. We have to jump on board, Casey. And librarians need to be in the driver's seat.
Yeah, we have to lead. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Joyce. And this was definitely a treat. Wow, I'm following along, and
I hope you're excited.
Notes again to digest everything again. Thanks again.